All right, cadets, welcome to the virtual version of Leadership Day, Leaders 411. We have got a very special guest, Officer Terry Cherry of the Charleston City Police here with us today. I am going to just kick it right off by letting Officer Cherry talk a little bit about her role and what she does at the Charleston Police. Go ahead.
I've been with the Charleston Police Department for 8.5 years now. Currently in the position of recruiter. Before that, I was in patrol. I also did a problem-solving initiative where I argued that if you built partnerships and relationships with the community, you'd be able to solve crimes. And then I moved into investigations. And then after that, I was asked to be the recruiter for the agency. I've been doing that now for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years by the time you see this for Leadership Day.
Terrific. That is just great. I mean, wow. And I have to ask, do we have any Citadel graduates in the police force? I should probably know.
Oh, we have multiple Citadel graduates in the police force. I feel like the leadership skills and professionalism and maturity that Citadel cadets learn at the Citadel translates very, very well to the police department.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, so we do a lot of recruiting. Last year at Leadership Day, we actually had the cadets, the seniors, come and be trained by the SWAT team for the day. And I'm sad that we can't do it this time. Hopefully moving forward, things will be different, but this is a great opportunity to get to learn a lot about leadership. It will be not just myself, but Sergeant Harville from training and Senior Police Officer Villeneuve, who is one of the SWAT operators and also in training.
Terrific. Yeah, I remember that was such a great thing put together with Dr. Hill last year and in the police department. And yeah, we're sorry to miss it this year too. And I'm sure the cadets watching this video are like, oh man, that sounds awesome. And it was awesome. Also, they were some of the only cadets allowed to wear their camouflage uniforms and not
That's right.
tie out in town. So inside the police department, do you guys have core values stated that are listed and everyone can kind of recite them? And if so, or if not, how do you always train back to them? And how do you think about, how does that get woven through all the work you do as police officers?
So we do, it's called HEART. Off the top of my head, I don't want to go through all those and mess one up.
Yeah.
But it's built within our policies and procedures. As it relates to recruiting, which is my expertise currently, the values of compassion, empathy, professionalism, the fair treatment of everyone, equitability, social justice, the ability to make social impact. So, we do have HEART as a concept, but there are so many other aspects that make a well-rounded leader. And, finding those qualities starts in recruiting, and then it gets nurtured through training, and then field training, the academy, then field training, then, with your first sergeant, people's leadership kind of gets molded in that early stage.
Yeah, let's talk about that actually. I want to anchor down there for just a second. So, you're recruiting, you're out there talking to schools, and you're taking only college graduates or high school and college graduates. What does your recruiting field look like? And then that pipeline you were just talking through, if you could just explain how someone who is stepping out of the Citadel might be recruited and what that process looks like, that would be pretty cool.
Sure. So let me just first say, Charleston Police Department is the largest municipal agency in the state of South Carolina. We're one of the highest paid, and we look for the best and the brightest. We lose about 14 to 15 officers a year to the feds, which include marshals, FBI, DEA, ATF. And the reason for that is due to their high education level, the training that we provide them, and then also, who was selected to begin with. So, we do take people that have only high school. However, they have to have some other quality combined, meaning military experience, some type of a consistent work experience that's impressive. As it relates to Citadel grads, we've have different majors. We have people from the Homeland Security focus, security focuses, criminal justice. I've had people put in from the psychology department. So you can be any major and be a police officer. You don't necessarily have to be criminal justice. And so what you do is you put in the application and submit all the necessary documents promptly. Then you're asked to come take a very rigorous fitness test. We have one of the most rigorous fitness tests in the state.
What is it? Just a brief explanation.
What it is it's 50% or more of your body weight. It's on a pointed scale, so 9 to 11. You have to make 50 to pass. It's a 5-test battery.
Okay.
So first is bench press, 50% to, I believe it's 73% of your body weight now. After that, we go outside. You do sit-ups, 18 or more in a minute for the max number of points. After that, it's a 300-meter sprint, 65 seconds or less to get the max number of points. After that, it's push-ups, 2 minutes, 25 push-ups or more to get the max points. And then a mile and a half after that, 16, 15 or faster to get the max amount of points. Now, it doesn't sound as rigorous, but when you only have a minute in between and you're in the South Carolina heat, and with the humidity, it's pretty intense. And so we lose some people there sometimes, which I, really encourage people to plan ahead and start training if CPDs, what they're motivated to want to join, because, we do have very high standards. After that, they shower and then they take the written exam. After the written exam, it's fingerprints and picture. Then they're assigned their polygraph time and also their interview time. And the next day they take part in interviews. It's a panel interview. The reason that we do panel interviews at Charleston Police Department is because anytime you go for any other unit that you want to put in for, specialized unit, promotions, you are obligated to sit before a panel board, which sometimes includes people within the agency, but also outside the agency, so people that you don't know. So you have to be very comfortable with presenting yourself and highlighting your accomplishments quickly and effectively. After that, you do the polygraph. If you pass all of the testing, you are put into backgrounds. After backgrounds, if you pass that, you're given a conditional offer. If you accept the conditional offer, you're asked to do your psychological and medical. If you pass that, then we put you into a hiring class. We call it police corps. One of the cool things about Charleston Police Department that I'm really proud of is, if you're going to graduate from the Citadel, I think they graduate in May. If you put in 6 months before, so I'd say January, and you pass all of the testing, then we'll hold your slot within police corps. So you can have a job before you even get out of the Citadel. And one of the other things that we do is if you're hired, I send a letter with a pin. It's a Charleston Police Department pin. If the Citadel permits them to wear that during graduation, then they can wear the Charleston Police Department pin, sort of like a commission for the military, but a commission with our police agency.
Very cool. How many people are you recruiting annually?
As many as I'm told to do until we're filled.
Oh.
So it's a continual process. We've been getting great numbers. I know that, internationally, we've seen the issues that people have had about police reform and defunding the police, et cetera. Our chief is, very much pro bringing people in. Our city council and the mayor is very supportive of our law enforcement organization. We're a very progressive organization. We took part in a racial bias audit last year, which we've been implementing. We volunteered to do it. We're one of the only departments I know that volunteered. A lot of the time, the DOJ will make you do it if you're under their control. We've done a lot of other socially impactful initiatives here. So, it's just a great place to work. It's a great opportunity if you can get, past all the testing.
That's really fascinating to hear. I think about how little I knew about the military before I signed up so long ago. And it would be it's going to be great for these cadets to in a very low pressure way to understand what that process looks like. And I actually suspect you're going to get a lot of interest, which is great for both of us.
Yeah, I hope so. I'll say again, I'll plug the Citadel, but I've really appreciated the relationship that the Citadel and Charleston Police Department has. And I've been really impressed with the caliber of cadet that has come out of the Citadel and gone on to have a very illustrious career at the police department. Right. Sergeant Harville and Senior Police Officer Villeneuve, who you'll be speaking with later, are both Citadel grads and have had very successful careers here at Charleston Police Department.
Oh, great.
So they're just two examples of multiple Citadel cadets that are here.
Sure. And I would love to hear, what have you seen young people do that just seems completely boneheaded when they're trying to apply? Mistakes they make, in presenting themselves, sort of issues that come up and you think, man, you could have, with a little bit of forethought, you could have avoided a major pitfall or roadblock?
So some of the things I talk about, I actually did a presentation on campus last year, was, you are the choices you make. And so if your goal is to be a police officers are held to an extremely high standard. And your conduct is expected to be such. So if you're going to put in for law enforcement position, and this is true with the feds too, everybody's super interested in being FBI agents off the bat and all these things. But, if you make choices as it relates to drugs, doing drugs, selling drugs, which is a big no-no, drinking and driving, going out on King Street and getting arrested for public intoxication, you're pretty much ruining your chances of being successful in law enforcement before you even begin. It doesn't mean you can't rectify those decisions, but it's very, very, very hard. And it may postpone your ability to get into Charleston Police Department or the FBI or whatever you might be interested in doing. So what I would encourage you to do is act like you're applying for a job when you become a freshman. I realize these folks for career day are seniors, but when you see this, you should be knowing, hey, I hope I've had my act straight. And if not, I better start getting it straight. Because when I tell you that, we're very picky about who we hire, we're very picky about who we hire.
Right.
It's an elite organization. I take pride in the people that I bring here, and I am ashamed when they don't behave the way that they should, particularly people I've recruited. Sure. So, also be very cognizant of what you put on social media. If you're putting yourself going out partying and getting drunk all the time and putting yourself wasted on Facebook, that isn't going to look very good. Yeah. When you're applying, to be a professional.
Do you review, or do you have a part of the process where you review what they put out there on social?
Yeah. So all social media accounts are reviewed during the background phase. Yeah. Just be smart about what you put out there. You're creating a brand for yourself. Mm-hmm. And if your brand is trashy and negative, then that's not what we're looking for at Charleston Police Department. Right. With the scrutiny that law enforcement is under and the pressure that it takes to be constantly judged and commented upon. And, you have to have a thick skin, you have to be professional at all times. And people who have already started off, building a negative brand image, they're not going to be able to be successful under the amount of scrutiny and pressure that we're under. Yeah. Female, male, whatever it may be. Right. What else did I want to say? I wanted to say that, this is the greatest profession ever. I'm so proud to be a police officer. And I think I know what the media says, I know what the news says, et cetera, but I think that people really still admire law enforcement and people that, just like they do people that are in the military. Mm-hmm. You commit to service, you wear a uniform, you're held way, 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 way up here. And even people that don't realize that they're holding you up here are holding you up here because there's still an admiration and a trust within, the industry and the profession. Mm-hmm. And so, it's not something you just willy-nilly decide to do. It's a commitment. Not quite as big a commitment as military, but it's still a pretty large commitment. And so you want to make sure that you've talked to me, talked to whatever other agency you might be interested in, gotten all the information. It's kind of like picking what college you go to. Yeah. So not all colleges fit, your personality, or the culture doesn't feel right. You want to make sure that whatever agency you do pick, it's the right culture. It feels like the right fit to you, that you're doing everything you can now to be successful when you apply. People pick the Citadel for a certain reason. People pick CPD for a certain reason. People pick other agencies for certain reasons, right? So you just want to start doing your research and getting involved a little more and looking at websites and calling recruiters and just making sure that you've picked, the right quote branch, sure, like the military, similar.
Sometimes it's a very personal cultural fit, to figure out what you want to do. And I think one of the best advantages is you get to stay here in Charleston. You get to work in a beautiful, wonderful place. And I have found, this is, no one's asking for my social commentary here, but I've had a lot of great experiences with the Charleston Police Department. I found them to really be very reasonable and responsive. So,
Well, thank you. We it's a very well-respected agency within the state and outside of the state, and we take great pride in our reputation. And just like I said, that's why we hire the best and the brightest. That's why we lose such a large number to the feds,
yeah.
which is a great thing. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Because it just goes to show what a fantastic organization has been built.
Right, your
And
screening and training quality.
Yeah, I mean, it attests to our success, and so I think it's amazing. And I don't know any other agency, and I know a lot of agencies through my work, and I don't know a lot of agencies that have had the same amount of success. And our leadership has really caused our success. Chief Reynolds came in here and has done quite a bit in just 2 years. And so I'm very proud to work for him.
Yeah.
They did an overhaul on the community outreach unit. They did an overhaul on the recruitment unit and the training unit, and it's flourished into what it is.
So we've talked about, the pool you're searching from, kind of how pitfalls to avoid, how to present yourself, and then how to get a seat in the class. Once you've got that seat, what happens? What is the training pipeline for that first year officer?
So you go to orientation the first day with the City of Charleston HR department, and then you show up for Police Corps, which is our 12-week pre-academy. We're the only police department in the state that has a pre-academy. Mm-hmm. Now, why, you ask, is that important? Well, law enforcement is changing. It's in a transformational stage, and you want more training, not less training. So we offer, we get people certified in their rifle, firearms, driving, de-escalation, gender identity orientation, racism as it relates to the African American community and the police. A multitude of different types of classes that are not, traditionally offered. And like I said, the shooting and the driving and the defensive tactics, what that does is it makes people successful when they go to the academy. We have a 0 attrition rate, meaning every person that we've sent in my 2 years as the recruiter and as the overhaul in the training division, no officer had to recycle under us.
Where is the academy located?
It's located so after Police Corps, you go to 8 weeks in Columbia at the South Carolina Justice Academy. It's a live-in academy, and that's how you get certified as a South Carolina law enforcement officer. We're one of a few states left that actually has a centralized justice academy. Mm-hmm. So after you complete that, you start field training. So field training is in-service training. You're assigned to a field training officer. We call them PTOs. And you go through different phases within the PTO process in order to get trained as a police officer. After that, you are cut loose for independent duty. You're assigned to a team. Charleston's broken into teams. You're assigned to a squad. You're assigned a shift, and you're given a take-home vehicle, and you are officially a police officer, which for me was the scariest day of my life. But because I was like, I got trained, and I'm not sure I know what I'm doing. But I think everyone has that initial like, oh, wow, now I'm by myself and I have to make all these decisions and things. And it was overwhelmingly terrifying, but also really, really exciting. And, from there, my life is taken off career-wise at CPD. So
you start, you're alone, you got your squad car, and then you're on a shift, right? So they give you, I'm guessing, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you got your team. Well, there's 6 teams. How many teams are there?
There are 5 plus Team 9. Team 9 is Entertainment District. Team 1 is the Upper Peninsula. Team 2 is the Lower Peninsula. Team 3 is James and Johns Island. Team 4 is West Ashley. Team 5 is Daniel Island. And then Team 9 is Entertainment District.
Got it. Okay. And then they're divided into a squad, and you get a shift. You got your car. So then are you assigned to just patrol a certain area and answer calls with a central dispatcher? I mean, this is like me talking from only watching TV and movies. How does that new officer start?
So you are assigned a shift. We have day shift, evening shift, and night shift. Mm-hmm. And you have a squad. It depends on what team, how many people in your squad. But for make-believe purposes, to just answer your question appropriately, let's say there's 4 people in your squad plus a supervisor. So within a team, you have beats. So let's say team 1, you'd have 120. I don't know the beats off the top of my head, but let's just say you have beat 125, 124, 126, and 127, right? So 4, 5, 6, 7. And so what the dispatcher does is they know what beat you're in. And so they'll assign you the beat, right? So they'll assign you the calls that occur within that beat. So if you're beat 124 and there's a domestic call, then you would go to that domestic call, and then either the 125, 6, or 7 officer would meet you there, because domestics are traditionally and statistically more violent than, say, just a regular encounter. So you want to have 2 officers or more at a domestic.
Yeah. And that's it. So you get assigned out based on where you're at.
And then you get all kinds of calls. I mean, there's a plethora of calls and that's the exciting part about being a police officer, is you have no idea what your day entails.
Yeah, every day I bet is totally different.
It is. One day you'll be eating lunch, and the next day someone, has shot someone, or you'll be eating lunch, and then the next moment, you're doing a traffic accident, or you'll be eating lunch and somebody, or dinner or whatever, and somebody's drunk on the freeway. I mean, it's all kinds of things you never imagine, and things I never thought were ever possible that they call you for. So, it's exciting because it's the unknown, and the unknown is fun for people that are interested in, a fast-paced career.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a very special person who wants to be brave enough to be a police officer and face all those uncertainties and dangers, who gets excited by those different things, and who is open to the idea of some of the more complex de-escalation and social justice training you're talking about.
Well,
that's pretty cool.
So policing that's the traditional notion of policing, the thing I just described, the type of policing I described. But you have some downtime, and during the downtime, when you're not getting calls, you're able to be your own little independent entrepreneur. Yeah. So, our organization really encourages people to do community-oriented policing and problem solving. So during your downtime, you could go play basketball with the neighborhood kids. You could go say, oh, wow, there's a constantly traffic, accidents at this particular traffic light. I wonder why. Let's do a little study and figure out why and try to problem solve that. Or you can go meet the shop owners, or you can go talk to people that that are homeless and try to assist them. You have a multitude of opportunity to make social impact and social change that, and it's up to you what you do with your time when you're not answering these calls for service, particularly as it relates to patrol. There are other opportunities within CPD that are not patrol, but patrol is where everyone starts out. And it's actually a really great opportunity to get a foundation, learn the road, learn the community, learn the inner workings of the police department, and then learn a way to make either a micro or macro impact.
That is super cool. Thank you for that orientation to basic policing 101.
No problem.
What is, I try and think about these cadets, and I think about myself, stepping out of college, what am I going to do? What is the vision? What is the path? And it sounds like, there's a certainly systematic training, and then a lot of experience. And that's one thing that the policing or the military, you're going to get just tons of experience and responsibility as a young person, which is pretty cool. What is a vision for someone who spends 10 or 15 years? You start out as a patrolman, and then you end up, if you're a supervisor, you become a sergeant and so forth. Or what is a good career in the police department look like?
I mean, the millennial answer to that, because I used to read Choose Your Own Adventure books, but millennials play open source video games. So it's kind of like an open source video game, I guess would be the best comparison I can think of, because, the sky's the limit. It just depends on what you're passionate about and interested in doing. For me, I was really interested in investigations. I wanted to work my way towards Central, which is robbery, burglary, violent crime, financial crimes, etc., or go into vice and narcotics. And I was on that path. And then I ended up being asked to do recruiting. And it turned out I was really good at research and, marketing, and got to use my MBA that I got before I came to policing. But I would never have thought I'd be the recruiter. I mean, that wasn't something I knew I would do. So, you're kind of floating down a river on a little floaty, drinking your drink, and kind of the world kind of, the universe kind of decides what you do. You can have a plan, the department and the universe and opportunity arises, and depends what you take, Some people want to be in investigations, which is great. And so what you would do is do patrol for a bit, try to put in for a team investigator slot, go through that training, handling caseloads, doing central rotation, which is where you come up I did it every month, but now they do it like every other month, where you work the 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. shift and handle the call outs. So a lot of violent crime, rape, robbery, and you learn on your feet doing that, and then try to get into Central. Same way with vice and narcotics. Some people are really interested in being canine officers. The way to do that is to get into patrol, start showing interest. No one's going to hand you opportunities. You have to be aggressive in getting the opportunities yourself. And so if your total motivation and drive is to be a canine officer, people are going to probably tell you no, and you need to just not take no for an answer and keep working towards what you're working towards. See if you can go to training, ask if you can, assist, see if you can set up tracks, figure out, whatever you can do in your free time to offer to them, or what you could do to help them to try to get on canine, let's say. Or let's say your dream is to be on the SWAT team. SWAT team is actually a collateral duty here. We also have a unit called the Quick Response Team, which is all SWAT people. If you really wanted to be on SWAT, I would start training now. I would start making sure I was in excellent physical condition. I would start going and shooting, making sure that I was squared away with that. I would start making sure that my uniform looked good, my business attire looked good, that I could present myself in a way that was attractive, and not arrogant, but confident. You need to be working on that skill set that and think that the SWAT team would be interested in. You have to be able to work within a cohesive unit. If that's not who you are and that's not what you're capable of doing, then maybe the SWAT team's not the right pick for you, right? Yeah. So you need to start figuring out what feels right to you, and then start fighting for those opportunities.
So I ask, as we wrap this up, I typically end these by asking folks, what advice would you give to these kids? Last thing, that is great advice. That you really do choose your own adventure. Your destiny is in your hands in any organization, in police or otherwise. You gotta ask for that training, show what you're interested in, always be learning. I think that's just really, really good advice. It's really cool to hear as a citizen, as a taxpayer downtown, to hear that what the police, like the massive amount of training that goes in there, and the opportunities to have an adventure, I think is really going to appeal to a lot of cadets. So I'm thrilled that we're sort of limited. We could only send you 12 or 15 last year, but this way, a lot of folks who are interested can see. So, I would like to
end with saying that just, I meet younger people who are straight out of college, and when they don't get what they want the first time, particularly this sort of generation, they just give up. And I will say that even in the military or police or whatever else, if you give up because someone knocks you down the first time, then you're going to be unsuccessful in all things that you do in the world. The world is built to knock you down. It is your job to find your confidence and your self-awareness and build yourself up to be the person that you want to be.
Man, that is great advice. These cadets are going to be lucky to come find you. I can tell you that much. And hopefully you'll get a few.
Well, and and anyone that wants to talk to me after this is over, you can call me. My number is 843-725-9619. And you can email me also at cherryt@charleston-sc.gov. Again, that's cherryt@charleston-sc.gov. I'm more than happy to talk to you about opportunities here and help guide you through the process to apply.
Right on. And I will put that in the notes for the class as well. So
great.
Officer Cherry, thank you so much. That was a really fun interview. So,
good. Thank you.
We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.